you hit live?
Yeah. Give it a second. Okay, we should be live. Can you let me know if the sound is okay? I think it is. All right. Sorry. Okay, so I think we're good now. Do I need to slide over?
Yeah.
All right. So, hello, number one. So if there's no issue with the sound, can y'all let us know? Just want to make sure we're using our mics today, so I want to make sure everybody can hear us. If there's anyone that can hear us out there.
I think the sound is fine.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Y'all good? Thank you. Thank you, sir. And welcome. All right, so today we want to talk about our life here in Cuenca and how much it costs, especially compared to the U.S. and to the coast when we're in Salinas. But first, I want to say, thank you for anyone who watches this now and in the future. We thank you. Also, thank you for our subscribers, members. We're at 2,600 now. So, thanks a lot. We hope to go from 2,600 to 26,000 this year. Who knows? We got to be lucky. But thank you so much. Lots of stuff there's lots of stuff to talk about, but we're going to try to keep it narrow today. But we do want to answer any pertinent questions that anyone may have. So several topics to go over. Let me first say, go Birds, because hopefully today the Eagles will win and we'll have to face the Commanders next week. Commanders had a big upset last night. So looking forward to that game today. So you can also look forward to the stream being over before 3 o'clock. So that being said, LaShawn, how are you doing today?
I'm great.
This is LaShawn's happy face. So I wanted to say that there's an election going on in Ecuador. There's like 16 candidates. If anyone has any questions for us about the candidates, we honestly can't answer it. There's a lot of them, and we're not quite as familiar with the politics here to be able to really voice
An opinion or to give you any information about the process. So that election will happen in February?
Yes. So there could be some changes politically in the country if Noboa doesn't win re-election. I honestly don't know what effect that may have for us living here, for people planning to move here in the future. So that's something we'll have to stay up on, and we'll try to post updates when there's relevant news. I try to get news from multiple sources within the country because they do vary a little bit. So, you try to mix it up and see where they meet at, where that Venn diagram is a circle. So stay tuned for stuff like that. And, if you can, keep up with it on your own. If you are planning to come to Ecuador. Hey, servant teacher Nikki. Hello.
Hello.
Glad you're here. Those are things we have to keep up on. And if you're coming here, you might want to keep up on this, news. We'll talk about it as it comes out. First, we want to get into, let me see here. Hold on one second. Okay, so first thing we want to talk about is healthcare here in the country. We did a recent video about, the stomach bugs that we caught, and so since we both had different experiences, we kind of had to go through some of the same processes to try to figure out what was going on with us.
The same treatment?
Same treatment, yeah. So from what we can say from our personal experience is that the dealing with the healthcare system here, it wasn't a pain. It definitely wasn't a pain.
What do you mean by being a pain? I mean, when you say it wasn't a pain.
It wasn't difficult, I mean. Yeah, it wasn't difficult. There are some differences to how you be treated in the U.S. You're not going to get a doctor to come to your apartment or your house, things of that nature. You're not going to be able to call a doctor or text them directly.
Right.
On the other side, we use two different methods.
You had your symptoms when we were in Salinas, so that was different. And I had my symptoms when we, a little after we got to Cuenca. So speak on your experience when you was in Salinas, because they're both different.
Yeah. Okay. So in Salinas, I didn't go through the public healthcare system to treat my stomach amoeba.
One, because when I went in to see if I can get him an appointment, there were no appointments available.
Right.
So he first was going to try to wait it out, but his symptoms wasn't getting better. And because we had a doctor we had seen before, we just messaged him to give him Steve's symptoms and see if he could assist him with the treatment.
Yeah, so, feeling kind of bad, I hopped on a scooter and went to his office after he had sent a technician to our apartment, and he did the blood work, stool sample stuff. And so by the time I got to the doctor, he had all the results already. So, he told me what the issue was and gave me some medication. And it pretty much cleared it up fairly quickly. Once I got the antibiotic and the, probiotic that I needed, kind of cleared up the issue pretty fast. Now, I forgot the name of the amoeba that I had, but it comes from you can get it from contaminated water, food, silverware, stuff like that.
Basically, a lot of the viruses and bacteria comes from the similar things that he's describing.
Yeah. But the trip to the doctor itself, and the different doctors vary, but that particular doctor was $25. I think the technician was like $60, and that was pretty much it. I went and got the medication. That didn't cost very much at all. I just took the prescription down to the pharmacy on my way back home, got everything I needed, and I was pretty much taken care of. That's been really the extent of my experience with healthcare here in the country. But it was a reasonable experience. being able to I just text the doctor, and he responded right away, sent a technician the next day, and I got everything I needed that same day, and that was pretty much it. If you're coming here and you're looking for like any kind of, if you get sick when you come here, it is fairly easy to get something to take care of it. Even if you don't go see a doctor, you can kind of just go to the pharmacy
and just explain to them what your symptoms are.
Mm-hmm.
And the pharmacists are like
it's like having
doctors.
a doctor or nurse.
They have they go through the same rigorous education as a doctor, so you can kind of tell them what your symptoms are in order for them to help you.
Yeah. So for me, it was easy. It was easy. It wasn't a hard issue to deal with or combat, because it's like a really common parasite, amoeba, in like Central and South America. So it was they knew what to do, like immediately. But for LaShawn, it was a little different. If you want to explain that.
Mine was a little different. And to be your question, we had IES when we was in Salinas, which is the public health care. And right now we're just paying out of pocket. Now, with me, my symptoms were a little difficult to figure out, because when we first got here, I was fine. And over time, I started to have symptoms where I could not eat anything without having vomiting and diarrhea. And I did reach out to a friend. They recommended a doctor. He came to see me, and I went to do blood work. Now, mine was more than Steve's, because I had extreme situation.
And it was harder to figure out what the actual issue was.
Yeah, and so I had blood work done. Mine was a little bit more expensive, because we were trying to figure out what food was making me sick. So I had an allergy test done, and that was over $100. After my results came back, the doctor suggested I take to make a diary of the foods I eat and what makes me sick, and just try to rule out things that made me have those symptoms. Well, about 3 weeks went by, my symptoms were getting worse. So I wanted to see a gastroenterologist. I reached out to another friend. They recommended another doctor. This doctor was bilingual. I had to have more tests done. And with that, she made the diagnosis of I probably had H. pylori. And because with H. pylori, it can show up in blood work, it can show up in a stool test, and sometimes you have to have a breath test, or they're doing endoscopy. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
I had already had the blood work and the stool test done, so I went and had a breath test done, and that was the way they found that I had H. pylori. H. pylori it varies with each person. Some people may experience symptoms, some people may not. And with me, it just destroyed my digestive system.
Yeah.
So she recommended that I get on strong antibiotics. So I was on strong antibiotics, a proton inhibitor, which is like Tagamet or Pepsid AC, probiotics, drink a bunch of Pedialyte. I can't tell you what else. It was several different medicines, and I was on 2 antibiotics. So once I started the antibiotic, I started to feel better, but I was still experiencing the symptoms. At first, I thought it wasn't helping, but I needed to just finish the treatment. Once the treatment was over, I did have a few symptoms afterwards, but I can see that they were not as extreme. They were minimum, and at this point, I'm somewhat better. I'm still waiting for my system to get back into a healthy state. Um, and with me, different medicines I don't agree with me, different foods don't agree with me. So it could be anything. And right now, I'm very, very cautious when I go out and eat now.
Yeah.
There are some things I'm just not going to drink, some things I'm not going to eat. Um, and it's kind of daunting because before we came here, I could eat anything. And now it's like, no, I don't want that. And I'm not trying to be rude or anything. I just don't want to experience what I was experiencing
Right.
because it was very bad.
Yeah. Like, of course, if we're away from home, that's something you want to avoid. So
Very.
recently, I will typically kind of like eat and she'll watch, or she'll get something that just so neutral that she knows like there won't be an issue, because we both love to eat when we go out. So
Well, at this point,
yeah, that's why we're trying to make sure that whatever the issue is, we get it worked out. To Russ, to answer your question about how we find a doctor, both times
it's either through word of mouth
yeah.
or you can join some Facebook groups, and some of the members in the groups will list doctors they've seen, and it's up to you, and they vary. If you're looking for an English doctor, just expect to pay more. If you don't mind using your Google Translator to speak with a doctor who speaks Spanish, you may pay less.
Yeah.
It's not that they are not less experienced or have less education. It's just when you find an English doctor, they're going to charge you more because
Right.
they can.
Because we paid $15 for a doctor visit, and we paid $40 for a doctor visit, and the main difference is one spoke fluent English and the other didn't.
And also, let me tell you this: some doctors, the Spanish doctors that I've seen, whenever they do a follow up, they don't charge.
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part, I haven't ran into
Yeah.
one. But if you're going to see an English doctor, doesn't matter if you're going to follow up on the symptoms you went on your first visit, they still want to charge you that payment.
Right.
So it's up to you if you want to continue to pay.
Yeah. We can't deny like how convenient it is, and in some ways better to have a doctor that speaks like fluent English, or a doctor that's from they could be from Europe, from the United States, whatever.
Or they could be from Cuba.
They could be from Cuba. You can't deny that, like being able to not have to figure out what the person is saying is a huge benefit. So you're talking about a difference of $15 or $20 in that payment, and you may have to make a payment again on your follow up. Versus you pay less money and no follow up payment for someone who doesn't really speak English, but is giving you the same treatment. So it depends on your how comfortable you are with that. Whether you were willing to pay the little extra money. And it's not like we're talking about a whole lot of money, but those things, if you're on a budget, those things add up.
They add up.
Especially if you have an issue where you got to keep going back and forth to the doctor. House visits.
House visit varies. Not all doctors come to your house. Some do charge extra if they do come do a house visit. You can, if you're in Cuenca, it's not very hard to get to the doctor. You have several different options for transportation, public transportation or taking a taxi. What was that? I lost my train of thought.
We're talking about doctors coming to your house.
Oh, now it is very convenient, especially if you're feeling bad and you really can't get on take a taxi or get on the tram or the bus. That doctor visit is definitely a lifesaver.
A lifesaver, yeah.
Because you may not have the energy. And so the doctors I had that have come to the house has been very thorough. It's not like when you go to the doctor, they only spend 15, 20 minutes with you if you're in the U.S. Here, I had a doctor spend, he was here almost
he was here an hour at least.
Hour and a half.
Yeah.
And we went through everything. He looked at my past lab results. He looked at my results from the U.S. We did a comparison. We talked. It was very thorough.
And it wasn't just talking; like he was taking notes. And,
yeah. And he did a great job. So I have no complaints about the health care, the health care or medical care that I've received.
Yeah, it has been pretty good. If that's something that is a concern for anyone coming here, obviously it's based on whatever your conditions are. You may have conditions that like are best treated in the United States, and of course that you would know that. But for the most part, from what we can tell, and from the people that we know, you can pretty much get anything done here within reason. You can pretty much get anything done here for a reasonable cost, and if you have insurance,
private insurance,
it's all pretty reasonable. Let's see, hold on, we'll see. Peter, so I'm struggling with my health since COVID 2020 with gastro issues. So far, it costs us well over $20,000 just to further investigate what's going on. See, that's insane.
That's a struggle.
Like if in a country, like I assume you're in the United States, so in a country that has so much technology and so much capability, like why does it cost that much to try to figure out what's going on with someone? Here, I don't know, if they would even find the issue here, but I can tell you it wouldn't cost you 20 grand.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah, well, probably.
It depends. Because I can tell you from a person who's had gastro issues, it's a struggle. It's a real struggle when you're going to the doctor constantly and they're diagnosing you with different, what do you call them?
I'm drawing a blank.
Too. They're diagnosing you with things that are not what you're experiencing.
Oh yeah, give you all kind of options.
Yeah. And you really want them to hear what you're saying and not just write a prescription and rip off and say, "Hey, have a nice day."
Yeah.
You really try to figure out what's going on. I'm still trying to figure out why I have all these food intolerances, and I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but I don't know if because I'm getting older, but making a diary and then figuring out what your body will tolerate and won't tolerate, you're just going to have to make that sacrifice. I have made the sacrifice that dairy isn't my friend.
Yeah.
I haven't been diagnosed with being lactose intolerant, but my body told me I'm lactose intolerant. I found out when I got here, passion fruit, I have a food intolerance. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I found out I'm allergic.
We thought it was an allergy, but it was really just an intolerance. Yeah.
Right. I found out I'm actually allergic to pineapple. Love pineapple. Been eating pineapple all my life. I don't know if that has had an issue or...
because you increased your pineapple intake when we moved to Ecuador because it was so plentiful.
Yes. But my suggestion is just keep a diary, figure out what you can and cannot eat, and do your own research. For gastric issues, definitely good probiotics. I had to get my probiotics from the U.S. They do have probiotics here, but everything doesn't work for me. We're all different. So eating fermented foods give you good bacteria to fight off some of that bad bacteria. So basically just do your research and figure out what works best for you.
And I do want to mention that we don't necessarily think that it's us living here that's causing her issues.
Oh, no.
You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure that that's not what the message is.
I probably had these issues before I got here. They just started to...
manifesting,
Yeah, when I got here, so...
So it's not like something here is causing this. It's like...
other than the H. pylori.
Right. So it's like being here has and the access to medical care and being able to talk to doctors and actually having them listen to you is kind of exposing some issues that may have been there for years, but it didn't manifest.
Yeah. Now Steinberg,
Zaidman. I'm sorry if I said that wrong.
How is the city for living compared to the coast regarding crime? Are you still affected by the electricity shortage? We are not affected by the electricity shortage. Haven't had any outages in about a month.
at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the shortages is
So far.
so far
So far. It's the election coming up. We don't know what's going to happen after the election.
Because we've been getting a lot of rain.
There's a lot of rain.
And there has been some flooding in different areas because of the rain, which is great.
Right.
Well,
Not
good
the flooding
and bad.
isn't great.
Good and bad.
The rain is great.
The rain is great. Crime wise,
I would say that, like, all right, so only speaking for us, we make the assumption that crime is the same everywhere. And that's how we treat ourselves when we go anywhere or do anything. We look at it like I'm just as likely to be robbed here in Cuenca as I am in Manta, Salinas, or Guayaquil. The reality is, though, like, it feels safer. Like, that's the best way we can put it. We can't say for sure that it is or isn't, but it certainly feels more comfortable. Not like we just let our guard down because it does, but there are things that we would do here that we wouldn't necessarily do on the coast. You know, like be out in the, kind of later in the evening, catching the bus home late at night, like stuff like that we wouldn't do in Salinas, even though we could have.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we did take taxis late in the morning, early morning, if we were leaving a friend's party.
Right.
But we had a private driver that we trusted.
That would come get us. Yeah.
That would come and get us. We didn't just take a random taxi home when we were in Salinas. Here, we haven't come home early morning. I think the latest we've come is like 10:30.
10:30, yeah. About 10:30. And there was nothing uncomfortable about us even being out around that time or anything. So we don't want to sound like we're saying that it's definitely safer here than it is somewhere else in the country.
We just take precaution.
Right. We take the same precaution. We just say it feels more comfortable.
Yeah. And if you're looking at the news, if you're looking at different Facebook pages, it can heighten your sense of
like how comfortable, how apprehensive or anxious you are about
anxiety.
Right.
Because you have to experience it for yourself.
Yeah.
You're looking, if you're basing off someone else's perspective, then you may be like, no, this is not for me. But for your own, you have to get your own perspective, and it may be like, oh, this is nothing. I don't know what they're talking about, because you may not be in those spaces. Mm-hmm. You may not do some of the things they're doing. So
and you may not have the bad luck that other person had. Honestly, like we know people that had bad experiences in Salinas.
Yeah.
We didn't have any. And
knock on wood.
Right.
So Peter said they wanted to give him gabapentin for gastroparesis. I said it the other day. Psoriasis could cause permanent face twitching.
Permanent? Jeez.
Let me tell you, you make your own decision when it comes to what medicines you want to take. Whenever I'm given medicine, I do a thorough research on different. I don't just go to Mayo Clinic and whatever those sites. I try WebMD. I try to really look at all the side effects, because usually the side effects are what I'm going to experience.
Yeah.
And so if I can find something natural compared to that medicine, because usually whatever the medicine they're giving you is derived from a natural plant. Yeah. And if I can find the base of that medicine, which is a natural plant, I try to substitute.
Right. For quick example, the doctor we had in Salinas, the private doctor that we used in Salinas, had he suggested that she take an herb. Yeah,
because he was more of a it was a balance between holistic and I'm sorry, y'all. Pharmaceutical. I have a serious headache. I'm under the weather, but yeah, he did a balance of both, because he said you can take this, or it's a natural herb they sell at the Mercado. You can get that, and I opt for that, and it actually helped.
Yeah, he's a really good doctor. Dr. Ortega, he's Cuban in Salinas, great doctor. But the doctors here will say, hey, look, you need this medication, but you also need to like eat these foods
Yeah.
to help your body heal and do the things that it needs to do. And then eventually you need to get off the medication and continue to live a healthier lifestyle, as opposed to like, oh, you need to stay on this medication forever.
Yeah, that's the conundrum. I just don't understand.
Kombucha, ugh.
No, I'm not doing kombucha. I've tried it. I don't like it. Like I said, I'll make my own sauerkraut. I'll make some different type of fermented foods to get the probiotics that I need. That kombucha, not gonna happen. I'll make ginger bug, whatever the ginger
beer and stuff.
Yeah, before I drink that.
Yeah. Jewel on Demand. You say actually headed to Panama, but your tips and pearls of wisdom work anywhere. We hope so, because every tip that we use here,
we use it
when we went to Panama, we're in Bali, when we're in Europe. It all works if you just use common sense. Keep your head on a swivel. Don't get scammed. And don't look too much like a tourist. That's the one thing we try to stay away from. All right, so Peter said you visited Dr. Ashraf in Vilcabamba. He's arranging me to spend a month there, going to Loja for all the okay. Cool.
I hope you get the answer that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And hopefully they find what's going on and you feel better.
And you know what else helps? Like just great scenery and relaxing lifestyle. You honestly don't know how much stress affects you negatively. And now moving abroad may not be everybody's solution for stress, but if you're able to just relieve your stress wherever you are, it will seriously reduce whatever you got going on.
Not everything.
Not everything,
all,
but yeah.
But yeah, your blood pressure may just drop. Like you lose some weight.
Yeah.
Your stress level, your anxiety, all of that.
Yeah.
Just
the simple anxiety of knowing that you have an alarm you got to get up for in the morning. Like we haven't had an alarm in like almost 3 years. And the only time we set our alarms, like we're going on a trip or we got to go do something early in the morning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we just wake up when we wake up.
And that's the best.
That is the best feeling, y'all.
Because you wake up at any time. You may wake up at 7. You may wake up at 9.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God, it's 9:30. Okay, great.
And I tell you, got somewhere to go?
No.
Okay, chill out. But Peter said, I think you guys use Amy Prisco and Salinas as your agent for the rental. Who is your agent in Cuenca? Are you satisfied? We have no agent.
Yeah.
No. I did my own research and I looked on Facebook Marketplace and I reached out to different posts and figure out which one I wanted to deal with. And so we don't have an agent.
Yeah. We ended up dealing with an owner. So that we were kind of lucky in that respect. Next we want to talk about when it comes to, moving abroad and coming to a place like Cuenca.
Well, that leads right into when he was asking about the cost.
Right.
Go ahead.
You go ahead, because you get at this, unless you got a head. Your head throbbing, sweet. I'm sorry. Hey, Pedro.
Hi,
glad
Pedro.
You can make it.
Comparison, whenever we talk about cost of living, we try not to always compare to the U.S. We just try to look at our budget and how things fit our budget. Now, when we rented in Salinas and coming to Cuenca, we're paying a different price. We also don't live in a condo, we live in a house. And it's cheaper. We will say what we've seen is cheaper to live in Cuenca than it is in Salinas.
Right.
Now, Salinas, from my perspective, is more of a vacation town or vacation city. Is where you want to go if you were going to Miami,
right? And
you would spend a vacation. You're going to spend a higher cost to stay in the hotels or the condos, the Airbnbs, because it's near the coast. Mm-hmm. And here in Cuenca is more of...
It's a place to live, honestly. Like, it's a place to visit, absolutely.
Yes.
But it's also a great place to live. Not like, we don't want to say that we didn't like Salinas, because we actually really did like Salinas.
It is more access in Cuenca than it was in Salinas. Now, if you decide to go to Salinas, we definitely recommend it because it's a beautiful place. You got the Chocolateria.
Yeah, and just the if you
And
love ocean views,
yeah, Ocean Views is it's
yeah,
surrounded.
yeah, there's some
Like you got
museums
Puerto
nearby.
Blanca, you got San Lorenzo,
Yeah, just
Chapipe. It's
yeah,
just different places that you can visit and find what meets your needs
yeah. There's lots of places you can go from Salinas, like up the coast,
up
and
the
yeah,
coast.
it is it's a really nice place if you especially if you love the beach life.
Yes,
But
it's definitely a good beach life.
and when we say that it's more expensive to live there, it is, but at the same time, it's not like it's insanely more than it is here in like Cuenca. It's not that much more. If you want beachfront, then yes, you're going to pay a much higher premium. But if we go back a few streets from the
From the
Malecon,
yeah, you'll pay a
you're paying
lower.
this around the same rates you're paying
Yeah,
here.
you just walk. I mean, if you wanted the oceanfront or the beachfront view, yeah, you can. But if you don't mind living a couple of blocks back,
Yeah.
yeah, you can do that too. Um,
Really quick,
Go ahead.
Pedro, you asked what the tips are about not looking like a tourist, and does height make a bigger challenge?
Yes,
It does for me,
'cause-
but it's not like I'm a tall Spaniard. Like I'm a tall black dude. I'm a tall black dude. So like,
and we've seen other people. Now there are some Ecuadorians that are
they are
actually
really
tall
tall,
here.
yeah.
That we see more here in Cuenca than
Yeah.
we did in Salinas.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get as many looks.
Yeah, I don't get as many weird looks. But when we get on the bus, like I'm like a head taller than everybody on the bus. So like I always get when I'm walking down the aisle. That's the one time I really notice it. Like everybody's looking up at me. But yeah, for us not look like a tourist,
We just wear basic clothes.
wear basic clothes. Like we're not flashy anyway.
No.
But like I never wear a hat, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't wear a hat, but you see tourists wearing hats, so I don't want to look like a
Well,
tourist.
it's that the UV is kind of high. So
UV's crazy.
he chooses not to
I
wear
choose
a
not
hat.
to wear a hat.
But
It's not like you can't. I'm just
yeah.
saying, like, if you wear, especially if you wear like the Panama hats, you rarely see Ecuadorians wearing those hats. So you really look like a tourist. And the tourists they usually have like backpack, water bottles on the side.
their camera hanging around their
like
necks.
yeah, they just look like a tourist. It could be any country. You just look like a tourist.
Right.
We try to avoid that as much as possible. Like
I just try to blend in. To
Right.
be honest with you, I don't wear any jewelry except for earrings. And that's just my preference. There are some people who choose that's not what they're going to do, and that's their right. You don't have to.
Right.
But for me, that's just something I don't want to look like I have anything.
Yeah.
If you look at me, you're like, oh, she don't have anything. Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, and Pedro brought up another good point. If anyone is watching right now, click the like button, please. Thank you. It helps out a lot. So back to the cost of living.
Mm-hmm.
We can say that it does seem cheaper, well, less expensive. I don't want to say cheap. It's less expensive to live here in Cuenca than in Salinas, and that I think that's mainly because of the access that we have, where we don't need to like, oh man, I need to go to Guayaquil to get this thing, or we need to take a trip to go to Panama to get this thing or that thing or that thing. Of course, our rent was about 30% higher because we lived on the waterfront.
Yeah.
So that's one big savings for us here. But the access, I mean, like, you really can't complain that a city like Cuenca has pretty much everything you'll need.
It's almost like if you visit Quito,
Yeah, and Quito's bigger, but
it's bigger. It's similar. They got a lot of restaurants here. How many malls? 2 or 3?
well, like there's several actually,
Yeah.
but they're like smaller shopping centers
Yeah.
instead of a mall. There's one really big major mall, and they're building a new one right across the street from that, which I don't know. I can't explain that, but there's plenty of
Things
access.
to do.
Yeah,
They have something going on weekly. You can go to the symphony. Sometimes they're showing movies. Sometimes they're having bands playing at different restaurants. You can go see a particular band.
yeah.
They have different trips to Loja, Baños, just whatever you want to
Yeah.
do.
Anything you want to do, you can kind of do it from here.
Now, as far as prices of like if you go into the grocery store or the Mercado, they're pretty much the same. They're pretty much similar to Selena's.
Yeah.
If you build a rapport with one of your Mercado reps, you would eventually start seeing your prices may decrease because
Yeah.
you're a regular.
And we noticed that in Selena's. Like I use this example all the time. The guy I bought eggs from, they were like $3.75 for 30 when I first started going, and then all of a sudden they were $3.25 after he started recognizing my face.
Yeah, so it's just, you become a regular, and it's just like with any place. If you're patronizing them, they give you a discount.
Yeah, you give the locals your business. Why not? You're here. Give them your business just like everyone else does, and they appreciate it, and you become friendly with them.
Now okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Edwin asked about the climate. We love it. I don't know any other way to say it. we honestly love it. Like, it's spring all the time, basically. LaShawn likes it cooler than I do, but it's still not too cool.
No, because most of the time I am walking around with a t-shirt on. Now, there has been times I've left the gym and I had on a tank top, and I think people thought I was crazy because it was cool to them. But
We're
it
flying
actually,
down the road on the
it
scooter.
actually felt fine to me. But I do love the climate here. I enjoyed the climate in Selena's. We had no issues with the climate in Selena's. But no issue. I love seeing the rain because the rain actually helps the greenery, the trees, and everything, the flowers. We've seen where when we had a drought and all the rain came and everything became so green and lush, it was just beautiful. It was like a picture in a magazine.
Yeah, this picture behind us I took like a week or so ago from Turi, and it's just a great photo of like pretty much the whole city. Edwin, you asked about the hats. We don't see that many.
They do sell a lot of the straw hats. I've seen some the straw fedoras, but we don't look for those. So we can't give you any opinion on that because I had no interest in.
Right. So I couldn't really tell you because like I'm the kind as a guy, like I'm looking, if I see a guy wearing a hat, like I notice it, and I haven't noticed a lot of guys wearing like the hats and fedoras. You see them sometimes, but not it's not prevalent.
I've seen some Ecuadorians like when they're going out.
Oh yeah.
Some of the fathers they have some of the fedoras on and straw hats.
And the indigenous folks, they will have the hats on. Like now I forgot about that. Yeah. They will have the hats on. The men and the women.
Thank you, Pedro, for your.
Thank you so much. And Pedro also asked about solid colored baseball cap. You will see baseball caps. That's pretty normal. Mm-hmm. That's pretty normal. As when I say like hats, I have a weird shaped head, so I don't like wearing baseball caps anyway. But like I'm talking about like the wider brim hats. Like you may not see. You'll see tourists wearing those more than.
But
Ecuador.
The baseball hats are worn by men and women.
Yep. And Pedro said. Once again, thanks for the super chat. You said, thanks for answering so many questions in a helpful and objective fashion. Your tone is consistently neutral and not panic-stricken. No,
we try not to be.
LaShawn knows that I'm not a panicky person, and I will not let her be a panicky person.
Except for once when we was in that monkey forest.
That was different. That's nothing I could do. Like she was just.
And I wish I could have.
That was a
I would have acted a total fool up in that place if I could have.
I wish I could have took more video.
This woman got attacked by a monkey. Yeah. She was bleeding. No.
Yeah. I wish I could have took more video of us in the monkey forest in Bali.
No, you could not.
But LaShawn was like, she was panic stricken.
Get me out of here right now.
But that's on our channel. You go back and look at our trip to Bali. Let's see. Peter, stupid question. Probably stupid question. When the power out, if you have a generator or have power at the home, do you still have internet service with a provider, cell phone? Yes and yes.
We don't have a generator.
We don't have a generator, but
you use
our battery backup.
Yeah.
And our wireless internet router is hooked up to the battery backup. Mm-hmm. As long as it has power, you have internet.
Yeah.
And the cell phone service has never gone out for us.
No. Now, what we will say, when the battery ran out, we just did without.
You were stuck with cell phone service.
Yeah, we just did without. It was at a point where I look at it, and this is the time I will compare the U.S. In the U.S., when the power go out and you contact the electric company, they say, okay, we know. And you just got to sit and wait. And there's nothing you can do. So we basically just entertain ourselves. We played games. We just did whatever. And it comes with living in a different country the same way it comes with living in the U.S. Things happen, and there's nothing you can really do about it. There's no reason to complain.
Yeah, well, yeah, we don't have the right to complain, honestly. Now, people who live here, been here their whole lives, they have every right. But like us, we come here just kind of sucking up resources, and we don't ever have a right to complain about that. It also helps that we're really competitive. So that's one of the reasons we just love playing games, because we're like, if we don't have something else to do, we can always compete against each other.
Yeah,
and be fine.
And talk junk to one another.
Yeah, we do that for hours, y'all. Peter, thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
Maria, where are you guys from? We're originally from. Now, I'm from Georgia, and he's from North Carolina. But we came from Virginia. So I spent half of my life in Virginia, and the other half in Georgia.
Yeah. All right, so we were talking about cost of living.
We were talking about comparison to food. Mercados and the grocery store is about the same.
I think the one major, and it's not even a major difference, is of course the cost of like seafood in Salinas is a little bit less than it is here, for obvious reasons, because you're on the coast. And some of the seafood that you can get in Salinas is just fresher. Like,
it's definitely
you can get
fresher.
Dorado, like you can literally just pull up to a guy on a corner and buy a whole Dorado. I'm just saying it's possible.
Wait.
Not like we did.
Hold on. Let me keep y'all on the safe side. Don't pull up on anyone on the corner. You can go to the like in Santa Rosa. That was the fishermen area where they brought in the fish, the seafood, and you can go there on the beach and just buy different types of fish. You can get the mahi, corvina, tilapia, shrimp, all different types of seafood. And it was not expensive. Yeah. You can get shrimp for like $2 a pound. And sometimes
they're big shrimp too.
Sometimes now if you go into the Mercado, they do have smaller, like in the US they got small shrimp, medium shrimp, large shrimp. Yeah. If you go into the beach where the fishermen are coming in, it's just here you go.
You can catch them.
You may get large, medium, small, all in one bag, but it's definitely affordable. We bought a whole
tuna.
For like $10, and it wasn't a small tuna.
And I forgot the other one, the other big fish we bought.
It was like a red snapper.
Yeah, it was huge.
And it was like $5.
Yeah.
Now in Salinas, if you were interested in, like, if you like red snapper and you go to the Mercado, you can get a stack of redfish. They would be like medium size, and you can get about 6 or 7 for $5. Yeah. I used to buy them all the time. They're very good. And
if they were big, it would be like maybe 3 of them for like $5 if they were big.
So it just depends. What we noticed here in Cuenca versus Salinas, there were a lot more scooters written in Salinas.
It seemed like
we see motorcycles. We see motorcycles and cars here, but not so many scooters.
Real quick, I'd like to thank Liz for buying us 3 coffees. So thank you.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think that because here it is a little easier to get around with the public transportation. There are fewer scooters. We saw a lot of scooters in Salinas.
Yes.
Compared to here.
Yeah, but now the restaurants here. There are more restaurants here, I will say. And we haven't had a bad experience at any of the restaurants we've gone to. They've all been really good. And it just depends on what you're looking for. Yeah. I'm not really a burger person, but he is. And he's had several good burgers.
Got some good burgers here. We went to a barbecue place the other day.
I can't tell you what the name of it is.
I'm so sorry to the owner. I forgot what the name of the place was. Well, if I find it, I'll make sure I'll post it on our page or something. But I had a really good barbecue sandwich.
Yeah.
He does barbecue, guys from Oklahoma. I'm so tired of that Apple thing popping up.
Somebody may be liking it. What
No, that's me. It does that when I
Oh.
put a thumbs up. Yeah, it's automatic. Sorry, y'all. But yeah, if I find it, I'll make sure I put it up there. To DT FAMU 89, hey, thanks for being here. I'm assuming you went to Florida A&M.
Don't be.
What part of Georgia and North Carolina? I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina.
I'm from Columbus. It's like an hour and a half outside of Atlanta. It's a small city.
Hey, Michael's Home Cooking, and you know what? I want to say something on Michael's Home Cooking. Check out his YouTube channel. But he comments on a lot of my videos, and we really appreciate it, especially the food videos. So yeah, I know you love hearing about food and whatnot. So I'll make sure I kind of keep that stuff coming.
I love talking about food, and I love eating it too.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Honestly, we probably have more food videos if like LaShawn wasn't trying to work through the issue that that we got going on. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Maria Jose, it's hard to make a comparison when you're coming from the USA. You earn as an American, but you live in Ecuador, and that's the reason why rent is rising up in cities like Cuenca and Quito.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true because, like I said before, we as North Americans or people from Canada, when we move abroad, we always comparing.
It's okay.
Comparing to those places which are way more expensive than it is, instead of comparing to Peru, Colombia, other Latin countries.
Right.
Which only makes sense because we're in Latin America. If you have that mentality, you're going to set yourself up. I'm sorry. You're going to pay more than what you probably should be paying.
Yeah.
But if you're okay with it,
you're paying what you can afford. You're paying what you can afford. But in comparison to like the local economy, you're paying more than you should.
But like I said, if you're okay with that, but then you're messing up the economy for the locals.
Right. And for people coming here looking for a deal. Because it's harder to get a deal if someone's willing to just pay the first thing that a landlord or someone wants for their rent. If someone says, I'll pay it. And like, don't negotiate. You can negotiate here. You really should.
I mean, you can now understand. You may get a few dollars less. Or you may get a couple of $100 less. It just depends on the realtor or the owner. Mm-hmm. If you really like the place and you don't want to look anywhere else, by all means, get what you want.
Yeah, but just know that for people coming here or looking here. If you live in areas, if you're looking at an area that is more highly populated by expats, it's going to cost you a little more.
Possibly.
Yeah, you said FAMU, HBCU, yes sir.
Peter said, are there special foods available for cats and dogs like Science Diet or Heal? Have a cat with urinary issues. I have seen Heal. Here at some of the veterinarian shops, like pet stores. I have seen Pro Max, something like that. But I have seen, I don't know if I've seen Science Diet, but I've definitely seen Heal. And you're going to pay a premium.
Yeah. Maria, Americans and Canadians are gentrifying our cities, and that is really sad. That's true. That was one of the reasons that, like, when we moved here, we were less interested in living in like an area that had been kind of maybe taken over, modernized. Like, we live in an area where we haven't seen any other expats. We don't know if they're here or not, but
we're not trying to change anything. We just want to blend in.
We want to blend into the neighborhood. We don't want to change anything. This neighborhood has been around for a while, and people like it the way it is. And we're totally fine with that. We don't want to change anything, which is why we don't normally tell people where we live anyway. But yeah, as far as like that cost, it can be. It can be one of those things that is really encouraging for someone to move to this city. but at the same time can be a detriment to the city if they're paying too much, if that makes sense. Other costs that are similar to the coast are like utilities, electricity. Per wattage hour, whatever is about the same. It's just that on the coast you'll end up using your air conditioner a lot when the hot months, depending on where you live and if you live high up or not. Here we don't have any air conditioning at all, so that's just one of those costs we're just not going to have. So we end up, over time it'll average out to be less than what we paid on the coast. Other utilities like water.
And it just depends. Now, some condos you don't have to pay those things; they're included. It just there are some condos that you only pay. They pay the internet, and you pay the other utilities. There are some that it's all included, and there are some condos that have an HOA. Was it aliquota?
Aliquota, yeah.
That you may pay, or it may be included in your rent. If someone is moving from the U.S. or Canada to Ecuador, and you want to know, should you buy a house or should you live in a condo? I would say the choice is actually yours. It's your preference. My preference, I would say, it's probably best to live in a condo. Maybe with there's concierge security.
You mean on that initial move?
On the first initial move.
Right.
So you can get acclimated to the city, and I guess to give you that level of safety that you're going into a building and no one could just access you immediately. They have to go through the concierge desk.
And it also gives you like an address.
That too.
Which, if you're getting anything delivered, whether it be food or like packages or whatever, if you live in a building, it makes that a lot easier. Because
they can leave the package with their front desk.
Yeah.
If you're living in a house, they're not gonna leave a package. Then you have to find a place like Serve Entrega or
DHL or something,
or meet the driver.
Yeah, like I've had to go meet the driver, down the street.
So if you're making that initial move, maybe living in a condo first, so you can get acclimated to the city, see what you like, see what area you want to live in before, if you decide you want a house, or if you decide you want to move in another condo in another location. I would say do that first, just so it can make that transition a little easier. Yeah. Now, I can't say if you're going to experience any issues with your landlord or your realtor. We don't know.
Right.
So far, we've been kind of lucky with the choices we made.
Yeah.
What else?
Let me go back. Scroll back a couple of questions. Pedro asked how old. I was 8 when I left Raleigh, and I lived in Alaska for 3 years before moving to Virginia. I lived most of the rest of my life in Virginia. So when someone asks, I normally say I'm from Virginia, because that's just the easier way to say it. Fam, you said living in Florida and New Yorkers drove prices here. 1 bedroom is now $2,100.
Ooh.
Lord. Prices going up everywhere. This is true.
And I think this price is just going up everywhere. It really doesn't matter. I mean, if we're not being conscious of how we are making our purchases and considering the locals, the natives in that area, we're just making it harder for.
And COVID, COVID of course didn't help any of this, because when people were able to remote work, if you're making 5 times the minimum salary in Ecuador, and from whatever state you were from, but you're living here, then to you, you're like, I just pay it. It's still less than what I was paying in the U.S., the rent or whatever.
Not realizing that
it was the same in the U.S. People were leaving California and going to Texas or Florida or something like that, or Alabama, whatever, and living, and you end up pricing out the locals, and that's just one thing that and we understand that we're in a way we're kind of part of that being here. We're not excluded from that, but it's also the reason that we bargain shop for a lot of stuff. I don't want to pay more just because I can.
And I understand that we're not going to say we should get what Ecuadorians get. We're not saying that
Right.
at all. But if I feel like you're trying to, and I don't like using gringo me, but price gouge because I'm American, I'm going to negotiate. And if I don't feel like your prices meet my budget,
Right.
I'm just not going to buy it.
And then we can't, and it's honestly like you can't really be upset with, like, I don't know, a taxi driver or a vendor or whatever trying to gringo price you, because what happens is, like, they know you're a gringo. Like, a lot of gringos are paying them those prices.
Right.
So, like, I can't be mad at that guy or woman for trying to make more money for themselves.
But we're just not one of those people
We're
who
just not the ones that are going to pay it.
yeah. So, I mean, I will pay a little more, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to
I'll
pay
pay a fair price, but I'm not going
Yeah.
to pay the gringo price.
either.
Thanks again. I'm sorry, Peter. See, said, reacting to Maria, are there growing sentiment against foreigners now in Spain and Portugal? Yeah, we personally don't know. I know that question was for Maria, but we personally don't. We haven't seen any sentiment towards us.
Not yet.
Yet. Now, I can say this. I'm sure there's expats across Ecuador who've maybe had bad experiences or had people maybe tell them they shouldn't be here, whatever. I don't know, personally, but we really stay kind of low key about a lot of stuff we do. When we walk around, like, even if we leave the store, we have the those bags you buy at the store to the locals that the locals have, like the Super Maxi bags or Corral bag or whatever with our groceries in it. So, like, it looks like we live here, not just that we're tourists here. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, if there is a growing sentiment, like, we don't personally know. I do know, like,
we haven't felt it.
Yeah, we haven't felt it. I do know in Spain, like, there was a politician trying to put like 100% tax on properties because so many foreigners are buying properties there and then renting them out as Airbnbs. So, like, there's a sentiment in certain
economy.
there's a sentiment in certain places that, like, once you get to a certain breaking point, like, it's too much. It's too much. And like I said, we know we're part of it, but we try to, like, mitigate our impact as much as possible. You want to do that one?
Thank you, Pedro, for your contribution. Have you all found probiotics for dogs more than one type? We buy it from Amazon in the U.S. and have a child with sensitive digestive system. As far as the pet, I can't speak on that.
Yeah.
But for a person with digestive issues, there are some probiotics here. Now they have specific strains for them, but I order my probiotics from Amazon. I use Garden of Life because they have different varieties, and I was using them when I was in the U.S.
Yeah.
And it definitely made a difference in my digestive situation. They have some that have 16 strands, sometimes they have 19, just depends on which one is beneficial to you. Now in the US, I will buy the raw version, which you have to keep in the refrigerator. But because I'm in Ecuador, I can't buy that because it needs to be refrigerated. So I have to buy the one that has a shelf life. Right. And it still has been beneficial to me. So those are the ones I use.
Yeah. FAMU asked, are you slow traveling from place to place or settling down in Ecuador for good? We're not slow traveling from place to place. That's not the plan.
Right now, Ecuador is just the base.
Right, it's our base.
Right.
We want to make sure we get our permanent residency here, and it will remain our base. If we do any other traveling, it wouldn't be like permanent unless some place just blew everything out of the water and we're like, oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and move to this place. But we want to have our not necessarily citizenship, but we want to have our residency, permanent residency here in Ecuador. So for now, Ecuador is the spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, we weren't planning on doing a slow travel. Liz, is it too early to say that you would stay longer in Cuenca than Salinas? I know there are a lot of factors that could affect the decision, but what is your feeling today? So what about you?
Today, we probably would stay in Cuenca longer than we stayed in Salinas because I just feel more connected to nature here. We're like I'm not a beach person. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I like watching, like looking at the ocean, but that comes with,
It wears off after a while for us.
yeah. But here, walking, like I get to walk through the park, seeing the kids play. All of those things feel similar to when we stayed in Virginia. So I think living in Cuenca is similar to when we were staying in Virginia. So I feel like I'm at home.
Yeah.
I feel connected here. And not just on vacation when I was in Salinas, because I felt like I was on a long vacation, and it was a long vacation because it was almost 3 years. But here in Cuenca, I just feel a sense of connectivity.
Yeah. For me, I would say this: if we hadn't have got, and I'll say we were kind of lucky. If we hadn't got lucky and found the place that we live in now in Cuenca, then there's a good chance we'd still be in Salinas. Not a 100% chance, but it's a good chance because we did enjoy it there. But I can say for me that like this is a place that I could stay for quite a while because it has everything. It has the climate. It has, anything that we need. We pretty much get it here. And the vibe of Cuenca is it's kind of unreal a little bit. Like it just feels like a good place to be.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to quantify and explain.
It just feels like I said, I feel like I'm living in Virginia because I'm in, I can do similar things that I did in Virginia.
Right.
That I could not do in Salinas. So I just feel a sense of home.
Yeah, it's just more peaceful, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah,
very peaceful, and I feel like here there's a cutoff period. People party and then they cut it off.
Yeah.
It doesn't linger all night.
Yeah. We haven't dealt with any.
Right, and when you're living on the coast, it's like going to Miami. It's a party time. You got bars, you got clubs, so you're staying in a place where they are there to relax, have fun. And I cannot be mad at that because I moved there. I chose to live in that space. So I can't complain about, they're partying at 2 and 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning.
We knew that was going to happen.
But I'm in an area where that's
what they do.
That's what they do. So here it's like people have to go to work. People have to take their kids to school.
Yeah.
So it's a sense of community. It's a sense of, look, you need to cut that off. We got to get up in the morning.
Yeah. One like indication, and it may just be because of where we live.
I think it's in other places too. I don't think they just.
Well, what I mean is like the peace part of it. Like it is more peaceful for us here because we don't live in, maybe we may not feel like it's as peaceful if we live like right in the middle of Central or something. Even though they kind of cut it off after 10 o'clock, but where we live out in our neighborhood, it's just quiet pretty much all the time.
It's quiet in other areas. We've been in other places. When we came in Airbnbs, we stayed at a friend's house. It was quiet there. I think if you're living in a suburb area, it's just quieter.
Yeah.
If you're living near shops and bus lines, it may be a little louder.
Yeah.
It just depends on where you choose to live.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me go back real quick. Let's see. Okay, Peter said, are you guys planning to have a Discord group or membership servers where you can have more access to you and your connections? So I had a Discord server like 2 years ago, and hardly anyone ever used it. So I just kind of like put it by the wayside. I may think about doing that again
in the future.
Yeah,
it depends.
We do have memberships. If anyone here is interested, we do have memberships for YouTube. We also have,
and we may be adding things to that membership.
Right.
For those members.
So I do post videos, maybe about half our videos I post to the members first. Once we get to a certain level of members, I'll probably have content strictly for the members. But we don't want to be in a situation where we're pushing people to pay for the content that we're going to talk about this stuff anyway. So
And we do
but we do
appreciate,
appreciate the members, though, seriously.
and we appreciate the chats, the super chats.
Yeah. So if you want to have like private, more private access to us, there's a Buy Me a Coffee link and there's a Ko-Fi link, as well as I have a Patreon, but I don't think I posted a link. But anyway, you can always contact us. I try to answer as many questions as possible. Sally says you love Virginia. Michael's home cooking. I can tell that you're very happy. Things you said 30 minutes ago and now.
We are happy.
Yeah.
We basically don't like a lot of drama.
We ain't trying to hear it.
We just want a peaceful life, a calm life, stress-free, and that is the best medicine, is being stress-free, drama-free, and just enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
And doing whatever it is that you want to do and not feel that you're pressured to hang out or be around groups that you don't feel like you want to be a part of.
Yeah.
You have to make that decision for yourself.
And that is definitely a bonus about living here in Cuenca. There's plenty of groups. There's plenty of stuff to do. But if you really aren't interested in doing that stuff, there's plenty for you to do on your own.
There's definitely plenty you can do on your own.
Yeah.
I will say this. If you're coming with a partner, spouse, please like your spouse.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Because we really enjoy each other. We get on each other's nerves.
Of course.
Don't get that wrong.
27 years is gonna happen.
But we also enjoy being around each other. We also do things together, and I wouldn't do it with anyone else.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because he's my husband.
Just because I'm sitting here, that's interesting. If you're interested in a very enlightening conversation between us, go to LaShawn's channel. The link is in the description on the porch, and she's gonna be posting another video soon.
We have some
serious discussions that we don't, it's
that
not,
you don't see on here,
right?
But we do get a little argumentative, but it's good.
Yeah, this is healthy.
Disagreements. We have some disagreements.
So if you're looking for a more adult-oriented conversation, go to LaShawn's channel.
You may not want to, because
you'll want to. That's on the porch. Fam, you said it sounds calm here. It is. It really is.
Oh, we just make it seem calm. We are calm. We just calm people.
Maybe it's just us.
We just don't want any drama.
Yeah. We avoid it. Mike R said, "Hi, just joined the stream. Not sure if anyone asked. Have you looked at Medellin, Colombia? It's higher altitude, feels like spring year round." We actually just did an interview with our friend Will Poe, who lives in Medellin, and that is a place that we do definitely want to visit. We don't necessarily know if we want to live there, but it is a place we want to visit. We've heard a lot about it.
The altitude is the same.
Altitude? No, it's a little bit. It's lower. I'm gonna say Medellin is lower than Cuenca. I think Bogota is similar.
No, I thought Bogota was higher.
It's around. I want to say it's around the same. I think Bogota is around like 8,000.
Well, I don't know because the altitude, it took a little time for me to get adjusted. So, and me and flying don't always go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I have too many issues trying to live.
Peter, thank you again. Really appreciate that. Oops. Henry King said, "I don't know if it's been asked before. Does the altitude affect you much?" I'm from Texas. Okay, you want to talk about that real quick?
When we first came, when we did our exploratory trip back in September 2021, it did bother me when we came to Cuenca. We took the bus up, so I don't know if that affected me more than when we took the bus. Well, we took a van the next time. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know if it was just because we came from the U.S. here, and it affected me the first day. Now I was able to still go out and see things. I just didn't have a lot of energy. I would get winded, and that's expected. But on our second trip here, which was last year in July, it wasn't that bad. I
And the
was
trip to keto wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as we'd expected. I take that back. Because keto's higher.
keto had me up at night. I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
I actually couldn't breathe easily, and I had trouble sleeping. So I was now keto is beautiful, but it wasn't for me. So we went back to Salinas because we had thought about living in keto. It's a beautiful
We really like
place.
keto, yeah.
It looks similar to Cuenca, just bigger. Now here in Cuenca, when I came last year, I didn't have a lot of those issues. I didn't have the vertigo and all of that. The weather was nice then, just like it is now. I still get a little winded every now and then walking upstairs because there's a lot of stairs. If you're going from a low area to get to Central and you see like four flights,
oh my
4 or
gosh, I gotta go
5
up these stairs.
of stairs.
No...
So you want to take your time. You can stop, get a breather, continue. It's going to be an adjustment. You got to just adapt.
Yeah, some people are less affected by it. I'm not as affected by it. I'll feel the windedness, like she said, going upstairs. But as far as like altitude sickness, I've never had altitude sickness. So like everyone is different. You honestly won't know until you get here.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do is hydrate yourself 2 or 3 days before you come here. And make sure you're
hydrated.
Very well hydrated, because that is the number one thing that will mess you up.
Yeah. Your blood pressure will increase just because you're in a higher altitude, so your blood pressure will increase. You may have heart palpitations. You may feel different. You may have vertigo. You may get dizziness. So like you said, hydrate, because it does play a part in decreasing your blood pressure, the heart palpitation, and trying to adjust with.
Yeah, if you're trying to adjust being here, try to avoid alcohol as much as possible.
Yeah.
Try, yeah, because it doesn't help.
Now the caffeine, I did have to drink coffee for whatever reason. It got rid of my vertigo.
Blood flow, yeah.
Tom said, "Glad to see you live." Hey, Tom.
Let's see. Henry King said, "Thanks for your videos. You're extremely welcome."
Pedro said, "What's more helpful for you all in your goal to grow subscribers number, membership, or super chats?" Super chats.
Well, when it comes to like being what's actually more helpful, like I can't act like we wouldn't enjoy more memberships and super chats, but subscribers is like the big thing. If you are here, you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button.
Yeah. We would love to, share our journey with a lot of subscribers so they can understand or get an idea of moving abroad, because we're not just asking everyone to move to Ecuador. We're just asking people to take a step outside the U.S. and appreciate other companies and not.
Countries.
I said countries.
You said companies.
Oh, I'm sorry. Countries. Appreciate other countries, diversity, cultures, traditions. Just see
the world.
See the world.
Yeah, if you're able to, sometimes you gotta take a risk. I watched the video before TikTok went down. I watched the video. This young man that he was living in Thailand, and he was like, "This is how much I paid to live here. I took a risk." He's like, "Hey y'all, if you're scared, like you're gonna take risks your whole life, like."
You take a risk when you get a job. You don't know what that job is going to be like.
Take a risk on yourself. He's like, take a risk on yourself. And he's like, I'm not making a whole lot of money, but I live great here. I live better here than I would in the U.S. And he was a young guy.
But it's not even about just going somewhere to live. It's about a different experience.
Seeing the world.
And just seeing how people live and see that everywhere else is not like the U.S.
I think, like, for me, I want to say, like, of our traveling experiences, for me personally, the most eye-opening and enlightening thing I've seen on a trip was the funeral in Bali.
Yeah.
Like, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in person.
Because the community came, and they were so supportive of
the ceremony. It was just, it was incredible, and they welcomed everybody. Like, they wanted you there. They wanted you filming it. Like, it was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen personally. So yeah, to answer your question, Pedro, like subscribers probably help more than anything because it helps YouTube's algorithm, and That's probably the biggest thing, honestly. Just subscribers. We
And
really
we
appreciate.
do appreciate the memberships, and we appreciate your super chats as well.
Absolutely. Peter said Bogota raining all the time around 9. Yeah, Bogota's pretty high.
So no, we're not going to
Our
Bogota.
only time in Bogota was at the airport a couple times.
And I felt it. I felt it
Yeah.
when we was in the airport. And even though it rains in Cuenca, it doesn't rain constantly. So right now the sun is out. So maybe in 2 hours you may get some rain.
Yeah, I think the forecast said like 3 or something like that.
It's a combination of rain, sunshine, cloudiness.
Yeah.
You get it all.
It might be cool, like it might just get cool all of a sudden, but it's never anything unbearable.
Yeah.
Let's see. Bogota's higher. Been in Bogota for a month now, yeah.
And
I think Bogota's around the same height as Quito or something like that.
So how are you dealing with the altitude in Bogota, Tom?
Yeah. Sean's right. Bogota altitude is higher than Cuenca. Henry said, thanks. The names of the neighborhood are overwhelming. How did you acclimate? Well, we don't remember the names of most of the neighborhoods, honestly. It took us a while to figure out which one we lived in.
How do you acclimate? Don't try to change what's going on. Just blend in and accept and be nice.
Yeah.
Be nice, be cordial, be respectful. Don't try to force people to speak English because you don't know Spanish.
Right.
Do your best to try to speak it. Use your Google Translate, but don't get belligerent because
there's people that do that. Like,
you moved here. They didn't ask you to come here.
Right.
Like just be respectful.
Yeah,
They are very a lot of Ecuadorians are very helpful,
just kind,
friendly,
yeah.
And if you're struggling,
they'll try to help you.
They'll try to help you.
Yeah. Just try to, if you come here, just try to be part of the community rather than forcing your ways on the community. That's the best way to acclimate, because the stuff that you're trying to learn, whether it be neighborhood names or street names, whatever, like those things will come
over time.
Yeah, they come over time, and with repetition. Like there's some streets, like LaShawn remembers more street names than I do,
because
she's always looking for them.
Yeah.
And they're not always visible. Sometimes they're on the side of a building.
Street names, no, they're on the building.
Yeah.
If you need to know where you are, especially in Central, look on the corner where the streets cross. The names is usually on the building. Excuse me.
Ooh, bless you.
The names are on the building. And the more familiar you become with the streets, you will start to recognize where you are.
Yeah.
There are plenty of landmarks where you can say, "Oh, I know where we are. We've been here, or we ate at that restaurant." Different places like that.
Yeah, and because it's pretty affordable to get around here in Cuenca, you can learn these things fairly quickly. I will say this, B, if you're riding the bus or the train, especially on the bus though, if you're taking buses to different places, the buses announce the neighborhoods that they're pulling up to, or the area that they're pulling up to, before you get there. And they announce it in Spanish and in English.
Yeah.
The train only does Spanish. But it's just one of those things where like we've learned a few areas because we ride the bus a lot. We know which neighborhood we're in based on the bus stop.
Yeah.
And that's one way that you will learn the neighborhoods. But you gotta take multiple routes and kind of listen to where the bus is stopping, and that's how you know what neighborhood you're in.
And what's close by to those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Now, we will say if you're looking for a lot of American brand products, you can find majority of them in Supermaxi. In Supermaxi, they are in a lot of neighborhoods that are, occupied by gringos.
Well, they're
or
definitely
gringos.
Yeah,
we won't say in neighborhood.
Yeah,
we'll say
right.
gringos will move around.
Yeah, or you'll see them more often at a Supermax.
Yeah.
Yeah, than other places.
So if you want to make a connection, go to Supermax.
Yeah, it's like, Supermax is like, I don't want to say, Supermax is more like Target than Walmart. Corral is more like Walmart, if there's a comparison. Because we kind of like Corral. We like both, but like if we're going to go shopping, like Corral's, you see less expats at Corral. It's not like you don't see any, but you see fewer.
But I will say when you go to Corral, if you're buying, because there are some products that you think you're paying that price, match the barcode to make sure you're paying the price
Yeah,
that
it
you
might be
see.
mixed up.
Because it could be just slightly out of place. So if you get to the register and you see that it's not the price, just either pay for it, tell them you don't want it.
Yeah. One thing that will help you, no matter which place you like to shop at the most, get the store card. You know, like if you're in the U.S. and you got
It's
like a
all
Kroger card or
Yeah,
whatever,
like the Kroger card, Food
yeah,
Lion,
get them here.
the MEP, yeah.
Because you will absolutely see the savings fall off on your receipt when they're ringing it up. You know, like I know one time we were paying for something and they ended up taking like $40 off the total, just because we had the card. So that's definitely one way to save money here. I don't know if everyone does it. We definitely do.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead. And I was just going to say that, like, you know, we see like the Ecuadorians, they normally will have the card. Or the card's
You
also
just
connected.
give them the number.
Right. It's also connected to your cedula. So you'll still get the same discount.
So before we wrap it up, if you move here, and we get questions all the time about bank accounts, it is beneficial to have a bank account, to get a bank account here. You can apply for a Bank of Guayaquil online. You don't need a cedula. You can use your passport if you choose to. I'm not sure if you can do that with JEP. There are here in Cuenca, Banca Astro, Pudabanca. It's a lot. What is it? Hardin Azul?
Yeah, that's a co-op.
A co-op.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of co-ops here.
There's a lot, yeah.
And there are plenty of ATMs everywhere. Yeah. So you don't have to really look for it. Now, the service charge can vary. But I would suggest if you're going to move and you're going to live here, get a bank card. Because if you're going to the store and your U.S. card or your international card doesn't work, they will accept the bank card. Now, if the system is down, I have seen where you can do a bank transfer from Bank of Guayaquil to wherever bank the company is using.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if they're using JEP and you have Bank of Guayaquil, you can do an external transfer to their bank account to pay for whatever you're using. That is something we never had in the U.S., but it's actually very convenient. You can pay if you're getting furniture made. You can transfer if the person has the same bank account as you. Bank company as you. You can do an internal bank transfer to their account to pay for the services. So you really don't have to walk around with a wad of cash.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to pay. There's even apps you can use to pay people here. That's a whole nother subject, but like there's definitely ways to pay for everything.
And it's very convenient. I will say that it's very convenient. I didn't realize how much you can do with your bank account. Like you pay for your utilities, you can pay for groceries, you can pay for stuff being delivered if you want to do a bank account. Now, credit cards are different here. We haven't applied for a credit card. That's something I'm thinking about, but I will look into it to see what the process is. But I haven't had any issues using the debit card that we have.
Right. Pedro asks, have you ever spoken to a local in Spanish and they responded in English? Does this throw you off in Spanish section of your mind? How often does it happen in Cuenca versus Salinas?
It happened more in Cuenca
than
it did in Salinas because I guess we were speaking such bad Spanish. Yeah. They were like, we're not even going to go. Yeah. It was like, what do you want, basically? Do you want this? Because it was at a Japanese restaurant, and Steve kept trying to speak in Spanish, and he was speaking in English. Yeah. Like, look, dude, just give it up.
Yeah. Now, one time, I think we were at the mall, and you were at another store, but I was in that, whatever clothing store. And I was at the register, and I was the worker that was speaking to me, and I was trying to respond, and an older lady was standing next to me, and she was talking. She was asking the lady about, like, a shirt, but she was asking something in my size, and because she was pointing at me. And I kind of understood what she was saying, and like I laughed a little bit, and then she looked at me directly, and I was like, oh my God, she's about to say something to me. So then she started talking to me, and I was like, I'm sorry, I only caught like a little bit what she said. So I'm like, my Spanish isn't very good. She's like, she almost took pity on me. She was like, oh, you don't speak Spanish. I was like, ah, yeah. So I was just saying, like, I need a shirt, like, a guy like him, big guy like him, his size, for like her nephew or something like that. And then her daughter was there. She's like, "Oh my God, Mom, leave him alone." So that was a pretty funny little thing. But that does happen. It does happen pretty often.
But we do really try to speak Spanish as much as possible instead of just going in and speaking English. Now there are times I forget and I'll say something in English and I'm like, Steve, like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I forgot. But it's very
it can
cumbersome,
be
but we do really try.
Or even when you were trying to speak Spanish to a person that you knew spoke English the other day.
Did I?
Yeah, the instructor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't making any assumptions.
Right.
But I knew she was bilingual, but I was still trying to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And then Steve was like, "Why are you speaking Spanish? You speak English."
So yeah, that it can be confusing. Peter, what's the current rate of bank savings of banks? So it varies based on how much you put in.
It varies in different banks.
The length, yeah. So
yeah.
There's a whole bunch of variables to this.
And you have to read all of that, and and it is not in English, it's in Spanish, because it's a certain amount you put it in, a certain amount you may get in your savings. Now, if you're looking for CDs, they vary too, depending on how much you're putting in the CD. Right. So you can get a low rate or high rate. It just depends.
Yeah.
And what you're comfortable with in putting in the bank.
Right. Like that question could be like an entire video on its own. Like there's a lot that goes into it.
But as always, research.
Yeah, because we don't want to tell you nothing wrong. Oops. Am I on the right one?
Yeah, right there.
Oh. I took it easy the first few. Tom's answering your question.
Okay.
He said, I took it easy the first few days. Try to drink water and electrolytes. I'm walking some, but I'm not doing anything too strenuous. Also, I noticed that I sleep differently with drier mouth and nose. Yeah. That was keto.
Yeah.
Like it was harder. Like I would wake up in the middle of the night.
It wasn't just keto. It was here in Cuenca when we first got here. So we use a humidifier.
Yeah. Because
the air is dry. And when I first got here, I noticed I had nosebleeds. And I was telling him, like, my throat is dry, my nose was dry, and you just have to drink a lot. And I do add a little Himalayan salt to my water, not much, because it helps your body absorb more water than just flowing straight through you.
Yeah, because if you're peeing, once or twice every hour, then like none of that water is staying in you. So if you, like you said, put some electrolytes in, like you said.
Yeah, you may have to drink Oralite, Pedialyte. They have different types of brands of Gatorade. But I try not to drink those because they're high in sugar.
Yeah.
And I try
to avoid that stuff.
Yeah.
He said, but you like it here because every day is normally sunny or 75, and day 50, and that's kind of the same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the same here.
Nice weather.
Pedro said, do you have to carry a Supermaxi card physically, or can you enter a phone number like Food Line, North Carolina?
You don't have to carry your card physically. You can give them your cedula number. They will ask you.
Yeah.
And a lot of Ecuadorians know their number. I know mine. I know my number, my phone number, easier than my cedula. I can write it down. So I just give them the card, or you can give them your cedula.
Yeah. As long as you actually have a card, your cedula will be connected to it.
And then normally, if you don't have a card, sometimes they'll put you in the system automatically.
Yeah, they're going to put you in the system either way. Yeah, because you'll get the
they'll
receipt
give you
in the email.
A factura in your email.
Which is cool, actually. I don't know why more places don't do that in the U.S.
Well, Target did. They'll send you a receipt.
Yeah. Let's see. Did your visa attorney help set up your bank account?
No.
No, we did that.
I mean, we could have asked, but I had already done it.
It was a service they offered, but we just didn't need to because it was pretty. LaShawn, she was on it.
First, I've worked in the bank. I worked for a bank. I was assistant manager in a bank, so I'm the finance person when it comes to our finances.
Yeah, take care of it. Peter, thanks, you guys. Got to go. See you next chat. Hey, thanks a lot, Peter. I really appreciate you being here and the super chats. So before we wrap up, I do want to mention that come in here if you have questions about like letting go of some of the stuff that you had in the U.S.
Oh, that was one.
Yeah, because I forgot that was one of the subjects we were supposed to talk about. It can be daunting. We did do a video about this a few weeks ago on our channel about letting go. It can be daunting, and it's different for everybody. So, like, I know we don't have a solution, for everybody.
I can just give you some of the steps that we took. When we decided we were going to move, I started one room, emptying out one room at a time. And it helps because if you're going into all these different rooms, you can get overwhelmed with so much stuff, and you're pulling stuff out, trying to figure out. Start with one room at a time. And if you don't want to do yard sales, garage sales, you can do Facebook Marketplace and put some of your items up there and see if people are interested. You can donate, ask your relatives, friends, if they want anything out of your house.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say do an open house. No, but
I don't want anybody walking around.
No, but if you have things that are very valuable, memorable to you, you can buy one of those Foot Lockers or store it in a box and find someone you trust that will take care of your stuff.
Yeah.
If they don't mind leaving those things at their place, leave it there.
Yeah.
And you can come back. If you decide that you still want it and you can bring it back with you, bring it back. If it's something that you like, I don't need it, then figure out what you want to do with it. Donate it, give it to someone.
Yeah. Because you may have to bring those things back piece by piece. With luggage.
Yeah, because the restrictions on luggage, it can be.
Right. So you may have, if you have like you said, a Foot Locker full of stuff, you may say, okay, well, the next time I go to the States, I'll bring an empty bag with me and bring some back. You can do it like that.
You can do it like that.
There's a lot of things that, like, sentimental items are different. Like, those are things that, like, we talked about, you may want to take pictures of, put on.
Oh, yeah. If you got kids' clothes that you saved when they were babies, make a quilt. Yeah. Make, I don't know, make a jacket. Put little patches of their little socks or whatever on your backpack, or sew it on your backpack, or like you said, take pictures. Get a digital photo album of pictures you really want to have.
A couple of Google accounts. Yeah. Store
them in your Google accounts. What are things?
There are things you can do to try to mitigate the stress of it, but honestly, for some people, it's really difficult, and that's just something that you'll have to work out to see if you're able to part with those things. And
it can be very hard.
Yeah.
Because it was hard for me, but it got to a point when it was close to our date, when we were trying to leave. No, it was when we were getting ready to sell the house, and we got a buyer, and I was like, whatever.
That's it. You got to get rid of it one way or another.
Because what's more important was selling that house so I can go.
Yeah.
Then I saved what I could, what I wanted. That was, like you said, sentimental to me, and then the rest of it was just stuff.
Yep. And the other side of that, when it comes to like budgeting living here, for us, is that we live in a place where we are able to get a lot of the things that like maybe weren't sentimental, but we wanted to keep because we paid money for them. Like, there are certain things that just cost more here because of import costs and stuff like that you may want to bring. If you want to try to bring, you may want to do that. But on the other side is that, like, if it's prohibitively expensive to just ship something here, you can just order it here or buy it here, depending on what it is. Like this, and it's not everything. Like, you may not want to ship a TV because you can buy TVs here, but you may want to bring, your Vitamix.
Well, I will say this: you will have access to T in the media. T in the media will definitely let you know what's prohibited.
Right.
It's not going to just send everything. If you go through Amazon going to hit you over the head with the custom and the service fee. Yeah. So if you're willing to pay double what you were actually buying,
and T in the media is connected to Amazon. It's connected to Amazon and eBay.
Yeah, but you can't order
everything.
It's limited to items with T in the media.
Yeah. So you can definitely try that. So you don't have to keep everything.
No. We'll say this. You can keep those things, and you can choose to do a container, or you can choose to bring them back in your luggage, or you can depart with them, or you can wait and get some of the things here that you want that you don't want to carry. And I understand people are like, well, I bought all of this, I don't want to start over. You're starting new.
Starting new.
You're starting new. And I would say the less headaches,
The better.
the better.
Yeah.
And you feel so much better because once we realized we didn't need a lot of stuff, my anxiety went down.
Yeah.
So-
You realize pretty quickly when you get rid of stuff, you realize how much of that stuff you never needed to begin with.
And how you can just live off less.
Yeah.
And you really don't need all those things. But if you're one of those people who need all this stuff, by all
You
means.
can do it. You can
You
do
can.
it. It's just going to cost you more, one way or another.
So, if you don't have any other questions, we're going to go so this dude can watch his.
I got to put my jersey on because whenever I wear the jersey, we win.
He seemed
So,
like it's his
go
good
Birds.
luck
Go Birds.
jersey.
It's my good luck jersey that LaShawn bought me. I really appreciate it. And before we go, like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share the video. Share any of our videos. Also, check out our other channels. The links are in the description.
And we appreciate all of the super chats that we received today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, if
Until next time.
Next time, if you got questions, put them in the comments, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye.